we just have a short presentation for you, and then after that we'll jump into opening the floor to any questions that you guys have. So first I'll introduce us. So my name's Alicia, and I'm the admissions officer here at Michener. With me today is Carolyn and Tara, who are from our international department, and Farah, who's one of our ultrasound students. There she is. Okay, so first we'll start with the presentation. So some of the areas that we're going to cover in this presentation are the admissions process, supporting documents that you'll need, the Skype interviews, student life, important dates, residence tuition, and a little bit of information as well on visas and health coverage. So before we start, we just have a short video for you about Canada. Okay, so now we're going to continue with the presentation and talk a bit about the admissions process and some of the steps that you have to take when you're applying. So first, all applicants, including international applicants, apply at ontariocolleges.ca. Once you submit your application to us, you receive an acknowledgement email, which is sent with instructions on completing the supplementary application form, as well as the fee of $45 attached to that. Next, you need to submit supporting documents. So the first step is a credential evaluation, and the second step is an English language assessment. So these can be submitted through ontariocolleges.ca, or you can submit them directly to Michener as well. So there are two different credential evaluation services that we accept. One is called WES and one is called ICAS. For WES, we require a course-by-course evaluation, and for ICAS, it's a comprehensive evaluation. So these services will be evaluating your transcripts to Canadian standards, and you will be submitting this assessment instead of transcripts, so you won't have to submit any of your original transcript copies. These are the prices for each of the services. And note that ICAS will also do your high school assessment, whereas WES will only do university. Here's some important facts to know about WES and ICAS. We do require original or certified copies. We'll keep all documents submitted on file for 1 year, so if you have applied last year, we still have your documents and can use them again. If WES or ICAS cannot provide you with an assessment, you can forward us their email explaining this, and in that case, we can accept English translations of your original documents. And again, it's a course-by-course for WES and a comprehensive for ICAS. And the reason that we need that type of assessment is that it will show all of the grades in all of your courses. So the second step is your English language assessment. We accept IELTS, TOEFL, MELA, and Pearson. Those are the test scores. Depending on the test that you take, those are the required scores for admission. And this is how often each test is offered. So depending on how early you are in the application process, you can figure out which test is best for you. The test that you take is valid for 2 years, and after that they are expired. And then here are some important facts about your English language assessment. Again, original or certified copies. We'll also keep your English language assessment on file for 1 year as well. And if you'd like to be exempted from the English language assessment, there are certain criteria that you need to meet, and those are posted on our website. So next is the MMIs. You're eligible for a Skype interview if you successfully move to the MMI stage and are currently residing outside of Canada. What the MMI Skype interviews are is an assessment of your overall suitability for the healthcare profession. So we test non-academic qualities such as problem solving, teamwork, communication, self-reflection, ethics, and responsibility, to name a few. And if an applicant does not have access to Skype, they can request a teleconference interview, which they would need to provide a verified invigilator to confirm their identity prior to the interview. So then finally, the offers of admission, those will be sent out in mid-May. They cannot be deferred, so they're only valid for the year in which you have applied. And applicants will be informed if they are on the wait list, although we cannot reveal what rank on the wait list. And then if spaces become available, notifications of admission from wait lists will happen from June to September. So here are some important dates. February 1st, yesterday, was the deadline to apply on ontariocolleges.ca or on ouac.on.ca for U of T joint programs. And I'll mention that for those U of T joint programs, they've actually extended their deadline to February 7th for the OUAC programs. February 10th is your deadline to submit supporting documents, so that includes your WES or ICAS, English language assessments, as well as to pay the supplementary application fee and complete the questionnaire. In mid-April, invitations to the multiple mini-interviews will be sent out. In mid-May, offers of admission and other admissions notifications will then be sent out. So just to talk a little bit about the residence that we have here at Michener, this is our building, and we're at 222 St. Patrick Street in Toronto. This is an example of one of our residence rooms, and more information about that can also be found on our website. And then we also have a short video to show you about the average Michener student. Okay, so speaking of our students, we will talk to Farah now, who's from our ultrasound program. Hello, Farah.
Hi.
Okay, so we'll just ask you a couple questions. So first, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. My name is Farah. I am an international student from Uganda, which is a small country in East Africa. I moved to Canada in 2012 for my undergrad, and I'm currently in ultrasound.
So why did you choose to study ultrasound at Michener?
So I got done with my undergrad semester earlier, and I went back home, back to Uganda, and I did an internship with at a fertility clinic, and I really enjoyed the diagnostic aspect of while I was at the clinic. So I did a little more research, and I did want to come back to Canada, so I was looking at schools around the country, and I really liked the program that was offered at Michener.
Okay, great. And how has your experience been with the smaller class sizes and with your classmates?
So when I was in school, we had really small class sizes, and when I moved here from my undergrad, my smallest class was consisted of 200 people, which was overwhelming, and I really missed having a smaller group of people and having that interaction with my prof or my teacher. And so far, I love the small class sizes. My class right now consists of 26 people, and we're very close, and even with our profs and everything, so it's great.
Excellent. So how has your experience been transitioning as a international student, possibly living on your own, and how do you like Canada?
So I love it here. It's a very safe and supportive environment. People are very friendly here. At the beginning, it took me a while to get used to the weather and everything, but eventually you get used to it. Everyone here is willing to learn so much about you and your culture and your experiences, and I I never thought that would be something big, but once you move here, people will want to know so much more about you and your country and who you are and how things work in your country. So it's great that way, and it's also a very multicultural environment. So you'll find people who are very similar to you and shares your values and things like that. So it's great.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Farah. So we'll go back to the presentation now, and then we'll have the open question and answer period. So for our tuition, for further information, we do have a full chart posted on our website that will show you the tuition fees broken down by program. And as well, it's important to note that our mandatory tuition fees will also include your yearly healthcare coverage. So these are just additional costs to be prepared for. So textbooks and supplies, residence, and depending on where you choose to live, this amount can vary. Student activity fees, and then other living expenses, which we've listed there. And there's also a good resource at the link posted here that'll help you to estimate the cost of living in Toronto. We also have an active student life here at Michener. So these are some of the committees and student groups that we have, such as Student Council, Community Volunteering, Charity Committee. And then we also have facilities as well, such as a squash court, gymnasium for intramurals, a gym here, saunas, shower, etc. And now for study permits. When you have been accepted into a full-time Michener program, you need to obtain a study permit from the Canadian government. So study permits take approximately 2 to 4 months to be processed. And as well, students are expected to attend orientation at Michener in the last week of August. Then students who are enrolled in a full-time program of study and do hold a study permit will be allowed to work up to 20 hours per week during regular academic sessions, and full-time during scheduled breaks such as the winter and summer holidays or spring break. So this is just a bit of information on job prospects. 89% of Michener graduates reported being employed within 6 months of graduation. And this website shown here, jobbank.gc.ca, is a really great resource to find out what the job outlook is in your field, what the requirements are, postings, wages, and other great information like that. So just to recap, we talked about the application process, paying the supplemental application and fee from your student portal, attending Skype interviews, offers of admission, tuitions, residence, student life, and job prospects. And in case you want to go back and touch on anything, this webinar will be posted on our website, and all of this information can be found on our website as well. So that's the end of our presentation. We're now going to go to the open question and answer period. So I can see we already have some questions coming in. So the first one is, how can I check to see if all of my documents were sent and collected? So for anyone that submits a document through Ontario colleges, when you log on there, you can see the status of your documents if they've been uploaded onto that portal. And if they have been, then we have received them electronically. And then if you submit them to us a physical hard copy, you can see on your Michener student portal, so the same place where you have completed the supplementary application, it will tell you if your transcript was received, and it'll say WES or ICAS depending on the credential assessment that you have. And then as well, feel free to email admissions@michener.ca, and we can always check on the status of your documents or an English language assessment or anything like that. So the next question is HOAE required for the ultrasound program? So I believe you're referring to the test that you take prior to applying to a program, like an entrance examination. So we don't actually have those at Michener. The only pre-examination type thing we have is the MMIs, the interviews, but those are not academic based. So you don't have to take any tests before applying to Michener. So I'll just let everyone know again, there is a questions tab on the right-hand side of your webinar, and you can feel free to type any questions that you have in there, and we'll answer them the best we can. And then as well, on the screen we also have the admissions email, the international email, and if you have a more personal question, you can feel free to email those as well. So the next question is, to be exempted from IELTS or another English evaluation, what are the requirements? So if you'd like to be exempted from the English language assessment, you have to fall under one of three categories. So either you have completed an Ontario secondary school diploma, so grades 9 through 12, or you could have done, if you've done a minimum of 2 consecutive years at a post-secondary institution in North America taught in English, then you could be exempted that way as well, and full-time as well it will need to be. Or if you're a regulated healthcare professional and you hold a Canadian license as an RN or an RT or any kind of regulated health profession, then you will be exempted that way as well. So the next question is, what happens if I'm unable to get my study permit prior to the MMIs? Did you want to answer that one, Carolyn?
So you don't really require your study permit before the MMIs, because students who are already in Canada, living in Canada, that means international students who are in Canada studying at a different institution, will already have a study permit. Those are the ones that will actually come in physically to Michener to attend an MMI. Other than that, if you're outside of the country, then we will do the interview by Skype. So you will only apply for a study permit once you get your letter of offer. And your letter of offer is the one that will come to you in mid-May. And that's the time that you would apply for it to come to actually attend the program. So prior to the MMIs, you do not require a study permit at all. If you're outside of the country, we would do it by Skype, and if you're inside the country, then you would already have your study permit.
Perfect. Thank you, Carolyn. Okay, so the next question is within the OCAS portal, you're looking for where to see your documents that were sent to the Michener Institute. So, if you if you are sending your ICAS or your WEST directly to Ontario colleges, you should be able, on the left-hand side, if you click the Education tab, it should show an uploaded document there if WEST or ICAS has successfully sent your evaluation to OCAS. Under Education, it should show that there's been a document uploaded there, and that's where we access them from OCAS. So the next question is if you've completed a master's in biotechnology, can I get admission into genetics? So there are specific course prerequisites that you do need to meet for genetics. So you don't actually need a master's. It's just a bachelor's of science in a health-related field, and then we look for a course in human genetics and a course in molecular genetics. So while having a master's is excellent preparation as well, we would just be looking at your undergraduate degree and then as well a human genetics and molecular genetics course. So again, feel free on the right-hand side of this webinar to click the drop-down questions box and type in any questions that you have for us about admissions or international requirements, anything that you need. So the next question is, if studies are completed anywhere outside of Canada, is English language evaluation mandatory? So actually, it's not just for anywhere outside of Canada. If you go to our website, there is a chart posted there of all the countries that are considered English language speaking. So it's only if your country is not on that chart that you would need a English language exam. So it's not just anywhere outside of Canada. It's just if your country is not on that chart. And that is on our website as well under English language requirements.
Mm-hmm.
So the next question is, once my transcript and supplementary application has been posted to my Michener self-service, it is the next step just to wait to hear back in mid-April. So yes, once you've submitted all the required documents and you've filled out and paid the supplementary application, you won't hear from us again until mid-April when we send out the MMI invitations and other admissions notifications. So once you have completed all of that, all of your steps are done. Next question is, I have heard that to get admission at Michener, your degree can't be 10 years old. That's actually not true. You can still apply even if your degree was 10 years old. It doesn't have to be completed with any kind of recency. This is a great question. Does IELTS general test count? So for all of the English language assessments that we've listed, including IELTS, you do have to take the academic version. Unfortunately, we can't accept the general test, so you should choose the academic IELTS. The next question is if tuition is paid by semester or if it is required all at once. So for all of our full-time programs, you are not required to pay all at once. It is by semester.
And there are 2 semesters here.
Yes. So any questions that you have, just in case anyone's joining us late, you can pull out the questions tab on the right-hand side and type in any of your questions about admissions or international questions that you have. So the next questions are there any tips for improving my chances of being admitted or on settling down more easily once I am at Michener? So in terms of being admitted, our application process is based on your academic achievement, on your MMI score, and if you're applying to one of the programs that requires a checklist, also on the checklist as well for those programs. But those are the only things we're looking at. So really just successful applicants just score high on each of those categories. And there's nothing really beyond those areas that we look at. So really just do the best you can with those 3 areas, and that's your best chance for being admitted. And then any tips on settling down once you're at Michener? Farah, do you have any tips you want to add?
I feel like as an international student, moving into res was great because you have students from different programs and in your program as well, and it's easier to make friends as well. And everyone here is really friendly, so I think once you come in, it's really easy to settle in.
Perfect.
So our residence is attached to the main building, and so that makes it much easier for you in the winter time to come to class because it's all linked. The buildings are linked, and so you don't have to go out and face whatever cold elements are out there. So that's one thing about settling in over here, which we recommend if students want to stay in residence. Other than that, the international department at Michener also will assist you with some of your settling in requirements as you go along, because it can be a bit challenging sometimes when you come from outside of Canada, and because you come in the month of August, September, and then the weather does change a little later at about October, and so with the challenges of both the studying, the system also over here, and the weather can get a little bit intimidating sometimes. Yeah. So there's a lot of people around that will help with the settling in, both academically and personally too.
Perfect, thank you. So the next question is, to gain admission for September 2017, what is the last day to apply? So yesterday was the last day to apply for admission into 2017. If you're thinking of still applying in the future, our applications open this coming October for the 2018 September intake. And it's always a good idea, I would say, to get started on your WES or ICAS assessments early, because sometimes WES and ICAS can take weeks or even months to complete. So it's a really good idea if you're thinking of applying to kind of start that process as early as you can, just because depending on the school or other factors, they may have difficulty getting documents, or they could just take longer if there's a high volume of requests at that time. So unfortunately, the deadline for this year has closed, but for next year for sure, it will open on October 1st, and then you can start applying for 2018.
One of the tips which I will tell you about application is that since February the 1st is the cutoff date, it is advisable that, as Alicia said, that from October onwards you start to get the two major documents. One is your English language assessment done, whether it's IELTS or it's TOEFL or it's MILA, whichever one you wish to take. And the second is the WES, because this year, for example, ICAS and WES, especially ICAS, is taking 20 weeks before they can give you an assessment. So 20 weeks is a very long time to wait. So that's why it's advisable that by August, September, October, you start to get all your documents ready, and then anytime after October, you can start to apply to the program.
Perfect. So this next question is for Farah. So the question is just to talk a little bit about the ultrasound program, what you like about it.
So it's a 2-year program. It's a year of studying and a year of clinical placements. And the great thing about the program is with the placements, the school helps you find places, so you don't have to go out looking for placements. And it's an intense first year, but we have 3 profs and they're all very supportive, and they have experience out there in the field, so that's great. And also the courses are very applicable. So we take like physics and anatomy and courses and scanning courses, and we apply all those in our labs and generally while we're just studying. So it's great.
Perfect. Thank you. The next question is looking for a bit more information about the MMI. So the MMIs, to describe them, we're not grading them in the traditional way that you receive like an academic grade in school. So what happens is there'll be 8 stations set up, and you'll go from station to station and have an interview there, whether you're being asked a question or being presented with the scenario. And the things that we're testing for are not things that are curriculum-based or fact-based knowledge. It's more like teamwork, leadership, just to kind of see what kind of person you are and if you'd be a good fit for the healthcare profession. So it's not something that you have to study for. It's almost like going into a job interview type of thing. So so it's not anything to be too worried about. It's more sort of just generally getting to know you. So the next question is any information on the cardioperfusion program. So one important thing to mention about this program is that there is a strong online component. So if you visit the cardiovascular perfusion page on our website, it will break down the actual weeks, like the amount of time that you will spend doing the online portion. But it's important to keep in mind that while there is a hands-on portion as well, there is a large online portion for that program when you first begin it. But also the perfusion students also have a longer orientation, so they will actually get a good intro to the program before that online component begins.
Now, the cardiovascular perfusion program, Alicia, that one starts the same week as orientation?
Usually it's 2 days before.
Yes.
Yeah.
So students who are applying to the cardiovascular perfusion program and who have been accepted into the program must make sure that they get their study permit well in advance because they need to be here the same week that the students come in for, the rest of the students come in for orientation. The cardiovascular perfusion actual program also starts that week. Okay?
Right. The next question, they're just looking for more information on how the MMIs will be carried out over Skype. Did you want to talk about that one?
So, so long as you have a Skype account and we are able to connect with you and verify that you are the student in question that we are meant to be communicating with, two people will interview you. We have very similar scenarios and questions which are asked during the 1 hour Skype interview. And when I say they're very similar to the MMI, which is the multiple mini interview. And we will, each one of the invigilators who are here on our side will ask you a question. And then you have about 5 to 7 minutes to look at the question, because you'll also have it on your side. We will post it for you to read yourself, and then you can go ahead and answer. It's set up in a very similar way to the MMI, so it's not specific to the program that you are applying to. In fact, the people who are interviewing you do not actually know what program you are in. So it's really exactly like Alicia outlined. The type of questions is about communication styles, teamwork, and other aspects that we're looking at. They are all normally health-related questions, and so there's different scenarios. They could be on diabetes or different topics or something, and it's for you to actually see what your skills are in understanding them and then being able to talk on a topic.
Perfect. So the next question is, so since acceptances will go out in mid-May and it takes 2 to 4 months for the study permit to be completed, what will happen if someone doesn't get their study permit before the first day of orientation? Can they still start the program?
Well, they're permitted to start the program only if they can show us proof that their study permit is actually about to come. So sometimes they've already received notification from the Canadian Embassy in their country that their study permit has been mailed, but it's not yet arrived at their place. In those cases, we would allow a student to start the program. However, in most cases, if they really don't know, because in some countries, for example, students from Nigeria, there's no guarantee that even within 3 months or 4 months that they will receive their study permit in time. So students, in that case, students will not be allowed to start the program.
Thank you, Carolyn. So the next question is, will I get selected according to the course preference that I've selected? Because I've selected multiple programs. So how it works is when you choose your programs on Ontario colleges, you can rank them in terms of your preference for second and third. But when we assess your application, we are assessing those applications individually. So we won't disregard your second or third choices or give more preference to one choice over another. We will look at those 3 programs that you've applied to individually. And because of that, it is possible that you could get 3 different offers of admission to one or all of your programs. So even though you've ranked them in terms of preference on Ontario colleges, we won't actually that won't affect your application necessarily, because we do look at them individually. The next question is, does everyone from a given program get placement? Yes, so our clinical placement office works with the students to get all of the students a spot in clinical placement. It's not guaranteed where you will get it, but they'll work with you to ensure that you do have a placement when that clinical semester comes.
Just one more thing about clinical placements, sure. Just so you know, it is a mandatory placement, and so it's part of the program, and so it is Michener's responsibility to get you a clinical placement. However, in some of the programs, you could be placed outside of Ontario, elsewhere in Canada, so you could go and be placed in Halifax or in Alberta, and so students coming into the programs have to understand that it's not any preferences given to a person to be in town or as an international student that you would be placed in town. However, they do have forms that you fill out, and so you can express what you or where you would like to be placed, and they do try to make that possible. But just so you know up front that you could be placed anywhere in Canada or anywhere in Ontario outside of the downtown core where we are located.
Perfect. Next question is, for a student from Nigeria, if after the 4 months passes and their study permit still does not arrive, will they lose their place in the program?
Unfortunately, the answer would be yes. You would lose your place in the program. But if you have paid any monies up front, you will receive a refund of all the tuition fees that you have paid to date, because it is based on the fact that you have not yet received your study permit. That's why we try to get the letters out to the students latest by the middle of May. They do go out also the first week and the second week of May. And so that you need to get all your papers in order, and you should have information before we even send you the letter, so that you know what is required from the Canadian Embassy to submit your papers for the study permit. So get all that ready now, and then all you have to wait for once you've reached the MMI stage is to see whether you have made it and get your letter of offer from us, because you need the original letter of offer to apply for your study permit.
Perfect. So the next question is, can I select the course I wish to study after I receive the offer of admission? Unfortunately, you can't. So once you receive your offer of admission, it will be an offer of admission to a specific program. So you can only join one of the programs that you receive an offer to. Unfortunately, you can't switch between programs or change your program selection. Once you start here, it's your admission is only valid for the program that you received the offer for. Another quick question here. MMIs, which days are they? So MMIs are held here at Michener in the first week in May, May 1st to 5th. Is there any difference for the Skype interviews?
No, they
Their
take
dates?
they
Yeah.
take place they actually take place even before the MMI starts sometimes.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Next question is, living in the United States, do you suggest a visit or wait until the official acceptance? So that's up to you. If you did want to visit us, I would recommend booking a campus tour ahead of time, because those are a great opportunity to go through the building, and they're actually led by our students, the campus tours, so you can ask them questions about their experience, and they'll take you through and show you all of our facilities. But yeah, so it's up to you if you do want to come for a visit, but if so, it's a good idea to book in advance for your tour. These are great questions so far, everyone. Feel free to keep sending us more. Okay, next question. Can I have a breakdown of the admission stages and dates, starting with applying through OCAS? Sure. So when you apply through OCAS by February 1st, that is your application submitted. Then you have until the 10th of February to submit any supporting documents that you have. After that point, that's when the assessment begins. So you as the applicant will just be waiting from February to mid-April. And we'll begin assessing all of the applications. Then in mid-April, we send out invitations to the MMI. So if your application was successful and ranked high enough, you'll be sent an MMI invitation. And then from there, in the first week in May, you'll actually have that MMI conducted. So over Skype, if you have an address outside of Canada. And then once that Skype interview is complete, then we re-rank all of the students using both their admissions, their academic score, and their MMI score. And then we send out offers of admission in mid-May. Then you can, once you accept that offer, orientation will be in the first week, or the last week, excuse me, in August. So one student has asked what the days are like for the average student. Do you want to answer that one, Farah?
Sure.
Just sort of, I guess, what the hours are like as a student.
Okay. So for me in ultrasound, we start classes at about 9 a.m. And depending on the days, our latest class will be we'll get done by about 5. And a class will be about 3 hours long. Again, maybe it's different for other programs, but for ultrasound, a class is about 3 hours long. And then you have labs in between. And then we have a lunch break from 12 to 1. And on Wednesdays, we have common time, which is about 2 hours long. And during that period, they have the LRC, which is the Learning Resource Center. They offer different seminars and things like that. So, yeah, that would be an average week.
Perfect. Thank you. So the next question is, are clinical placements paid or unpaid? So all of our placements, regardless of the program that you are in, are unpaid. The next question is, approximately how many people are accepted for respiratory therapy per year? So the class size for respiratory therapy is usually around 36. And then for ultrasound, the same question. So the ultrasound class size is usually around, let me just see here, 25-ish, around there. And then perfusion is the next question. So that's actually one of our smallest programs. The class size is usually only 10 to 12. So next question is student wondering on average how many students there, international students there typically are in a given program, for example, ultrasound.
So for ultrasound, there are 2 students only. We have a quota for international students for each of the programs. And in the ultrasound program, we only accept 2 international students a year. In cardiovascular perfusion, we accept 1 student. In med lab, we accept about 4 students. In respiratory therapy, we accept 2 students. And so it depends on the program. If it's a very small program, then the numbers of international students are not large in those programs, because as you can see from the numbers that Alicia shared just now, the program itself is very small. We don't have large programs. MedLab is the largest program, and we have about 70
Yes,
students.
72.
Yeah, and we can bring in 4 MedLabs international students into the program.
These are great questions, everybody. And we do still have 5 or so minutes left if you want to ask some more. So the next question is, how can you increase your chances of acceptance for those smaller programs? So again, our admissions process is very transparent. We are only ever basing it on your academics, your MMI score, and your checklist if you're applying to a program that requires an experience checklist. So for all the other programs, it's just the academics and the MMI score. And those are really the only things that we use for the admissions decision. So as long as you do well in all of those, you'll have a good chance.
You have to make sure that all of you also, if you are interested in pursuing this option, that the supplementary fee is also paid. Because in looking at the list a few days ago, there were lots of international students who have applied to the programs, but who have missed paying the supplementary fee. So please make sure that is it 40 or 45?
45.
$45. Yeah. And there's a form attached to it also that you need to fill out and send in, that both those things are done, because that moves your application forward to be reviewed.
And just to add to that as well, to access that supplementary application, you are logging on to your student portal. So by now you should have received an acknowledgement email as well as login information that allows you to log in and pay that fee. If you haven't received it, email admissions@michener.ca. We can resend all of that information to you so you can complete that ASAP. Next question is, if you are not offered admission this year, are you given any preference for next year? Unfortunately not. Every year we do consider all applicants equally, so it's not possible to gain preferential status for the following year. The next question is, if the supplementary application is not submitted by February 1st, have we missed the deadline? No, so you have until February 10th to complete the supplementary application. So the February 1st deadline is just to hit submit on that Ontario Colleges application, and then the supplemental fee and form that you fill out is due February 10th. The next question is regarding the checklists that I just mentioned. So those are required for cardiovascular perfusion, genetics, and diagnostic cytology. Do those need to be done before the deadline? Yes. So the actual checklist and any supporting documents that you need to go with that checklist are also due February 10th. And the next question is, do we provide transportation facilities for students? We don't, although if you ever need to use the GO train, we do offer discounts on your GO passes, but we don't have an actual student-specific pass set up.
The Michener Institute is also located right in the downtown portion of Toronto. So we're right downtown Toronto, and we have access to the subway system, which is like a 5-minute walk from the Michener Institute, and that will allow you to access most of the downtown area very comfortably. There's the buses, there's the streetcars, and if you, for any reason, live right outside of the downtown core, then are the trains that will are there to commute. The subway does go to a certain limit, and then from there you can also take buses if you don't wish to travel on the trains. So it's very commutable to most, I would say to 99% of the places that you want to get to, that students want to get to. Very few students live right outside of the city limits, as in places like Barrie and all, which are right outside of town. And those mostly are local students or domestic students who live over there and who commute. Most students commute about an hour, hour and a half to classes if they live outside of the downtown area. Otherwise, your commute would be anywhere from 15 minutes to half an hour.
Perfect, thank you. So we just have 2 minutes left for one more question, if you have it.
If you want to also drop an email after the webinar, Alicia has posted the 2 email addresses. Write to the international department with your questions, or if it's an admission-related question, write to the admissions officer, and we would be happy to help you.
Okay, this will be our last question, as we just have a minute left. If the residence is full, do we offer assistance with off-campus housing at all? I don't believe we do, but our Student Success Network could probably help you out just if you need to talk to someone about what's out there. But we don't have an official Michener off-campus housing of any kind. It's just the residents that we have here.
And the residents, when you get your letter of offer at that time, we also do remind you that if you want to stay in residence, so then you can contact the residence department, and there will be information in your letter of offer about residences. And they do keep about 5 to 6 rooms for international students up to a certain deadline date. And after that date, they will give it away to those domestic students. So most often, international students who are interested in staying in residence always get a residence room so far.
Perfect. All right, well, thank you, everyone. That concludes the end of our webinar. So again, please feel free to email us anytime at the addresses posted there. And if you missed those emails, you can also visit our website and find our contact information there. So thank you all for joining us, and we wish you the best of luck with all the admissions process. Bye-bye.